hesitate but to welcome the newest jurisdiction on the block of Grand Lodges. So, most worshipful Grand Master of Hawaii, we welcome you into symbolic Freemasonry officially. And if you have any questions about ruling the craft, when in doubt, close. Can you hear me in the back all right? I asked that question at the DeMolay chapter not too long ago. I said to the junior deacon, "Can you hear me back there?" He said, "Past Grand Master, I can't hear you." The senior deacon got up, he said, "I can, let's change places." Don't anybody move. I was up in the Egyptian room in Leonard Foreman Lodge about 3 months ago, and I must have usurped my time as all past Grand Masters do. And the master of the lodge took the gavel to tap me, just to give me an indication that the time had expired. And the gavel slipped. It passed me. When it crossed the roof, struck the oldest past master of Leonard Foreman Lodge, and as he was going down in the chair, giving the grand hailing sign of Masonic distress, he uttered these words, "Would you hit me again? I can still hear it." Grand Master of Hawaii, when your mind is absorbed what the rectal area can endure, give me this Masonic sign, and I'll sit down. Agreed? Don't do it yet. Picture, if you will, with me, off of Montauk Point, United States warship. Foggy night. The captain says to his radio operator, "I'll handle the transmitter. Take a break." About that time, he happened to look up, and here comes a white light towards him. The captain says, "I'll take control." He picks up his microphone. He said, "You over there, turn 20 degrees south." And a voice came back, "You over there, turn 20 degrees north." The captain said to him, "I am a captain." And the voice came back, "I am a second-class boatsman's mate." The captain said, "This is a warship." He said, "This is a lighthouse." I don't want to belabor the story, but Exxon hired the captain. When you're Grand Master of the Grand Lodge, just like Grand Master of DeMolay, or International Grand Master coming in or going out, whichever it might be, you're asked to speak in many places, not only lodges, synagogues, churches, civic groups. But I got the most unusual request any Grand Master would receive. The chief psychiatrist of Ancora Mental Institution. You're familiar with it? I thought you looked familiar. Called me on the phone, and Dr. Brunt said to me, "Grand Master, would you speak here at a Vesper service on a Sunday afternoon at 4 o'clock to the mental patients?" Now, do you realize, and I'm sure Masonic leadership would agree, if I had not accepted that invitation, the very next morning it would have said, "Masons against mental patients" in the newspaper. So I thought, accept it, whether you want to do it or not. And then I asked him the time and the place. Then I hung up. And then I thought to myself, what have I done? I'm going down and talk to mental people with problems. So I picked up my Masonic Bible, and I opened it up, and there it was. The creation, right in front of me. Genesis 1, in the beginning, God. I thought, that's it. Everybody's been to public school, parochial school, Sunday school, rabbinical school, bas mitzvahs, bar mitzvahs. I'll talk on Genesis. So on a Sunday afternoon, at 4 o'clock, standing in front of 250 guests of the state of New Jersey, in Ancora Mental Hospital, and as I look out here today, I recognize a few, but I thought, all right, Elliott, you're an educator, motivate them, get them excited, get them interested. And so I stood there and I said, why are we here? Some guy got up, he said, because we're not all there. I turned to Dr. Brunt, he said, Grandmaster, you're doing well. I talked for 5 more minutes, some man gets up in the middle of the group. He said, Grandmaster, I don't like your sermon. If you don't sit down, I'm walking out. I turned to Dr. Brunt, he said, they have problems. Remember that? Keep going. I talked for 5 more minutes, the same man got up. He said, didn't you hear me the first time? Your sermon stinks. And if you don't sit down, I'm walking out. I turned to the chief psychiatrist and said, John Brunt, what do you want me to do? Well, he said, confidentially, Harold, between you and me, he's been here for 10 years. It's the first time he ever made an intelligent observation. I thought my problems were over. I gave my sermon, I left the building. Some efficient woman comes over with a clipboard. She said, Grandmaster, don't walk across the campus. Your car's a mile away. Go back in a bus with some of the guests. So I got on the bus and sat in the middle. Some woman gets on with a clipboard. She's going to take attendance. And she's coming down the aisle. 1, 2, 3, 4. She got to me. I said, I'm the Grand Master. 5. Little boy said to his mother, I'd like a baby brother. She said, go up and pray for one. He came down the next morning. He said, where is it? She said, where's what? He said, the baby brother. She said, did you pray for one? Well, I said, I didn't really pray. I just said, God, I'd like a baby. Well, she said, that's not praying. You're not serious. When you pray to your supreme being, you be serious. 9 months later, took him upstairs, rolled back the covers, triplets. Said, aren't you glad you prayed? Said, aren't you glad I stopped? Now you'll be glad when I stop. We get dessert. Yeah. We'll even get coffee if they think about it. Somebody said to me as I walked into the door, Dad Elliott, what do you want to talk about? I said 20 minutes. See, if you can't save them in 20. Are there any Baptists in here? Any Baptists? I love that religion. You hold them under until they believe. I like it. Of course, I'm the Episcopalian. Wherever 3 or 4 are gathered, there's always a 5th. Down near where I live, about 20 miles from here, and that's out in the country, I always like to come into the city of Brotherly Shove once in a while. I speak in this Masonic temple about 4 times a month. I sneak in and out. As long as they don't tell Sam Williamson, I'm all right. I mean, I don't take any chances. Sam Williamson and I were Grand Masters of our Grand Lodges at the same time. It was the greatest moments in the history of those lodges. Because as each one of us would approach the throne of grace, the whole Masonic family would stand up and sing, how great thou art. I know that's marvelous. But down where I live, Fellow walked in, he said, I'm a Boy Scout troop leader. We're going on an overnight canoe trip. Do you sell salt by the case? He says, yes, I do. And ye are the salt of the earth. See how he does it?
No more.
Fellow runs in, he says, do you sell Jewish pumpernickel rye in the round loaf? He said, yes, I do. Cast your bread upon the waters. About that time, a fellow walked in. He said, do you sell horse blankets? He reached under the counter, brought up a box this big, ripped it open, hadn't been opened in 35 years. Took out a blue blanket. Says, how's that for $10? Said, young man, I just paid $35,000 for this horse. I'm going to enter it in the Devon Horse Show. He said, all right, how about a redwood for $100? He said, young man, my saddle is gold, my horse is a palomino, and I wear a beige suit. Well, he said, how about a yellow one with fringe for $1,000? Said, I'll take it. He walked out the door, he looked at him. He said, you came as a stranger, and I took you in. I passed a Presbyterian church the other day. They're rather snobby. Presbyterians. Difficult to deal with. I can always find out where they are because they always look at me and then put their nose up just the way they are. I mean, they can't help it. Just the way the Presbyterians are. I passed a Presbyterian church the other day, had a sign up. If you're against sin, come in. And in red lipstick, it said, if you're not, call 234-17. The International Master Counselor wrote the telephone number down. Do that. If I took a poll, standing at this door, and said to every DeMolay boy walking out, tell me your favorite saint, it would vary. One boy would walk up and say, I like St. Peter. He was macho. He was the leader. He took them around the countryside. He was afraid of no one. Another boy would walk up and say, I'm not that way. I'm more like Thomas. I doubt. Prove it to me. Then I'll accept it. I think these two international officers over here would say, no, I want to be like James and John. They were ready for a good fight at any time. They like to go in and rough it up. They would like to go in and settle the disputes. But that's not my favorite saint. My favorite saint is James the Less. Now why? Well, number one, he was short. That's rather obvious. What do you know about him? Well, some said he was the brother of St. Matthew, that he was a tax collector. That made him very unpopular. Some said he was within the fraternal family of the Christ. Others have said that no, he was just happened to be at the right place at the right time. Well, why is he my favorite? Because we don't know anything about him. He could have been anything. But he was one thing that was most important. He represented, in my estimation, the ordinary guy. Nothing specific about him. His profession, little known. But he represents you, and he represents me. Do you realize in 1200 AD, when Sam Williamson was attending public school in Pitcairn, Pennsylvania, that probably the most well-known person in the world was Pope Innocent III, the most powerful man in the world, Otto IV, Emperor of the Holy Roman Empire, the most despised man in the world, Saladin, taking his Islamic hordes across the peninsula into Europe, to proclaim to the world that Allah was God. Mohammedan was his prophet. And at the same time, in the city of Rome, outside the walls, stood a little man, 5'2". His eyes weren't blue. And he was standing at the mouth of a cave. And he was saying to his friends, goodbye. I'm going into this cave, and I'll never come out. And they said, what is it? He said, it's a leper colony. I'm going in to help my fellow man, like people you have honored here today, who helped their fellow man through an act of bravery or for DeMolay young boys for 30-some years. And he turned around and walked into the cave, and he never came back. Now it's 1990. We're in Philadelphia. We are attending two great organizations, and we're meeting in honor of a great man. I knew George Newbury personally, had a great respect for that man. If there ever was a God-fearing man on the face of this earth, it was George A. Newbury. If I said to you, tell me something about Innocent III, 1200 AD, Sam could. No one else. He was there. How about Otto IV, Emperor of Rome? Unless you're a history buff preparing for Jeopardy, you know nothing about him. How about Saladin? You didn't know too much about him until the hostage crisis during the Carter administration. Then there were many, many, many articles about Islam. But how about the little man, 5'2", that went into a cave to help lepers and never came out? Because he died the death they died. Well, his caricatures and stained glass windows all over the world. He's a saint. His prayer is international. St. Francis of Assisi. And what was it about the greatness? He cared and he shared with his fellow man. That is really DeMolay's objectivity. Regardless of your age, regardless of your rank, regardless of your station in this great youth movement amongst the world. DeMolay's more than anyone else in the world. By virtue of your obligations, by virtue of your symbolic crown of youth, by virtue of your representation of that martyr. Incidentally, my favorite part in the DeMolay decree, when I was a DeMolay Junior Inquisitor, he was about as nasty as you can get. I loved that part. It prepared me for the teaching profession. London, England, 1843. Sam was on a cruise. Doing the Baltic Peninsula, all around Denmark, Sweden. He was over there. George Williams owned a department store. Something like Stearns, Gimbel's, you know, Kmart. All those biggies. One day at lunch, George was going through ritual. See, you don't have to be Freemason to go through ritual. He had a ritual. He would stop, have lunch, put a sign on the door, lunch, 1 hour. And then he would take out a sandwich out of a brown bag, make a pot of tea, read the newspaper, have a few thoughts about the Queen, which are not printed in any annals of any history books anywhere. And then he would stop at the end of his lunch and have a word of prayer. And one day he went out the door, walked over, and peered into the proprietorship of the store next to him. And he said, I wonder what the man's doing that owns this store at lunch. And he looked in. And the fellow was opening a brown bag, making a pot of tea, looking at he said he does the same thing I do. Beckoned the man to the door. Said, come on over to have lunch. And they sat down, and they broke bread, and they mutually talked about business. Incidentally, George was exactly 5 feet tall. And he said to the man, before we go back to work, I always have a word of they joined into prayer together. Well, after a while, you know what was happening. Everybody that owned any store in downtown London was having lunch at George Williams' store. In fact, if you were a patron shopping, you would see people with little brown bags. I said, where are they going? Having lunch. No, it's not the beginning of McDonald's. No, it isn't Arby's. No, it isn't Pizza Hut. But out of that nucleus of store owners who were very, very religious, George Williams formed a Bible study class. And they used to meet on the second floor of his store. And they used to walk by and look up, and people would say, you know what's going on up there? I say, what? That's George Williams' Bible class. And they say, well, who's a member? They said, all the people that own the stores. Now, you know as well as I do, members of the Masonic fraternity and DeMolay in particular, get three men together, they have to organize. Right? Somebody's got to be the chief. I'm going to start a group sometime where everybody's the chief and the leader's an Indian. I think that would be a great organization. Well, they talked among themselves and they said, we have to give ourselves a name. And this is the name they selected. Young Men's Christian Association. YMCA. And how did it start? Nosy George, wondering what his neighbor was doing at lunch. And out of that comes a worldwide federation of people dedicated to making the world a better place. You see, my brethren of DeMolay, it doesn't take much to start a ripple. It doesn't take much within your fraternity to get things moving. It doesn't take but a little bit of intestinal fortitude. It's called guts to make things work. And when they're by divine providence, when they are associated with your God, with your Creator, based upon 10 Commandments, Beatitudes, the Golden Rule, the precepts of DeMolay, the purposes and tenets of Freemasonry, your family traditions, your mother and your father, your school, it works out all right. Don't be afraid to do something. I'm a past Grand Master. I'm allowed to sit in the Grand Lodge and do this. He didn't do it that way my year. You can always tell past Grand Masters, you just can't tell them much. I've just spent a few moments with you, and I don't want to hold the time any longer. I don't want to hold you here as an entrapment. Because you still have some business that must be attended to. I've often said in Masonic bodies that it's not a bell until you ring it. It's not a song until you sing it. It's not brotherly love and affection until you give it. You're not DeMolay, Freemasonry, or allied bodies until you live. You gotta live it up, people. You gotta live it up. Sure, we're serious. Sure, we're solemn. Who told us to be stuffy? This is a fellowship. This is a brotherhood. You gotta enjoy it. Some people get all uptight. you're in the right town. Ben Franklin said it right here. Yeah, we don't hang together, we're going to hang separately. So DeMolay and Freemasonry, put in your vernacular, DeMolay, baby, we got to hang together here, I'll tell you. It's right. Don't be stuffy. That turns people off. Enjoy it. Have a good time. Airplane flying over Bahamas. Stewardess came down the aisle, saw a Catholic priest. Said, Father, would you like a drink? Said, I sure would. Turned around, there was a Methodist minister. It's a good thing I told him it was the Archdeacon Church. It's right here. Methodist minister said, young lady, I'd rather commit adultery. Catholic priest gave his drink back. He said, I didn't know we had a choice. Well, you had no choice. I'm your guest speaker at this very fine luncheon. You know, God loves you, and so do I. Thank you. God bless you all.